Today's video is going to be about the Bushcraft Essentials Fire Piston. My name is Brian and you're watching Survival on Purpose. Okay, well, welcome back to Survival on Purpose. Thanks for joining me. As I said, today's video is going to be about the Bushcraft Essentials Fire Piston. If you've been watching this channel for very long, you know I like fire. A fire piston, in case you're not familiar with it, is a means of making fire through the compression of air. Works just like a diesel engine, at least the same principle as a diesel engine. We'll go ahead and take a look at the details, how this thing works, some of the neat features about it. I want to do a quick primer on using primitive fire and preparing your fire, just to talk a little bit about what you're going to need to make a fire from a coal, because this thing does not give you a flame. What it gives you is an ember, very similar to a bow drill or a flint and steel or something like that. So let's I'm going to go ahead and take the camera over to the picnic table here, and we can go ahead and talk about it a little easier there. So let me readjust things. I'll be right back with you. Okay, so this is the fire piston, and I'm going to show you basically what the fire piston is. It's a piston. It's got rubber O-ring seals on it, and a little cavity in the end of it to put your tinder. Typically going to use some sort of really flammable tinder. They actually give you some tinder with it, which is like some charred cotton rope. You can use char cloth. If you find the right natural tinder, you can use it. It's just a lot harder to use with natural tinder. But the way it works is these O-rings create a really tight seal. So you put your tinder in the end of the piston here, put it in the chamber, and then you're going to whack it really hard, really hard, and it's going to create real rapid compression of the air in there, which is going to heat the air up enough to cause this to become an ember. So, and you can see this thing has really tight pressure. When you try to push it in, it's just going to pop back out. So one of the things they provide is you can relieve the pressure by unscrewing this cap, and you can push it in for storage and screw it back on. So that's a pretty neat little deal. So that's the fire piston. Now, what's cool about it is in one end of it, they give you this end that opens up. It is a waterproof, you have a waterproof little storage in here, and you can see inside there is a little bit of, and it is charred rope is what it is. If I can get it out of there for you. There it is. So it's just charred cotton rope. You take a piece of that and you put it in the piston, and that's what you use to create your ember. Before we do that, I want to go ahead and show you another really cool little feature of this particular fire piston. If you go to the other end and you screw the handle off the piston, inside there's a little ferro rod, just for emergencies. So that it gives you just a multi-functional kind of tool here, which is really good. It's always better to have one function than two. So not only do you have some waterproof tinder storage, you have a fire piston, you also have a fire steel in there. We'll take a look at that in a minute, but first I want to talk about fire pistons in general. And with any kind of primitive type fire, and I call this a primitive type fire because it is basically fire with an ember, so you don't have an open flame. Your materials and your fire prep, as with any fire, is really important, but with this kind of fire it's even more important. So sometimes you got to use what you've got. It'd be great to be able to make a bird's nest with some dry grasses and stuff, but I'm out here in the woods, basically in a state park, but there's nothing around me but hardwood forest and some pines. No grasses whatsoever. So I did find some down poplar, a few pieces of poplar laying around, and what you want to do is you want to find something you can peel the bark off of, kind of like this. Just flake it right off. Now some of it is almost too dry to use, I'll be honest with you, but when it peels off like that, you got a pretty good chance. And then this is a really good fire making material. Now there's a lot of ways to do it. Here's the way I do it. I take and try to find the ones that are not quite totally trashed, because you can take another, like here's a piece down here that I broke off. If it snaps like this and doesn't have any kind of fiber sticking out of it, it's really difficult to use. I mean, you can use it and it'll burn like no tomorrow, but it's hard to process it down into some really small fuzzy stuff, which is what you're going to need to start a fire with an ember. But if you can find something that's kind of, when you break it up, it kind of has these little fibers sticking up, and usually it's kind of the lighter colored stuff. Just take and scrape it with the back of my knife or the blade of your knife. It's not going to really hurt your knife that much. Anything you do to the edges is going to take away a little bit, and just take that off and save it. Save the little fuzzy stuff, the tiniest fuzziest stuff you can get. And you see that broke off, but I just go ahead and scrape some here Okay, so that's probably a little dry to use. We'll put it to the side. But, and it's certainly, look, it is tedious. There's no doubt about it. Just to get a little bit here and there. Sometimes you get lucky and find a better piece, but in the real world, you kind of got to use what you find. And this happens to be what I found today. So I'm going to try to keep it as fine and shredded as possible, because that's going to be where you want to put your ember. Now, as you build out from that, from your fire bundle, tinder bundle, whatever you want to call it, bird's nest, then you can use a little bigger stuff. And actually, let's go ahead and show you. Okay, so I did this little pile. This is about 15 minutes worth, to be honest with you. Then I've got another pile here, a smaller pile really, of just like the stuff that really I couldn't shred it that little, but I was able to get to peel the bark off and put it around. So you're going to go from the smallest to the next biggest. I found a few dry leaves that were up off the ground, caught in some bushes, and then I've got some more stuff over here, which is just the other shredded stuff that I really couldn't, it breaks up and didn't really want to scrape for me. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And again, it's like anything else, you just got to be patient and take your time. But your prep is everything, because it doesn't make it, if you spend a lot of effort to get an ember, or you spend your last piece of char material or whatever it takes to get an ember, and you haven't taken the time to do the prep, then you just wasted a lot of time, and you might be in a worse situation than you started, because now you don't have the raw materials you need to make a fire. But you can see this one now. Once it's scraped out, as best as it seems like it's going to scrape, starts breaking up. Just kind of twist it up. If it'll twist up like that in your hands and turn into this fiber stuff like this, then that's good. That means that's going to be really helpful for starting your fire. So I'll put that out here on the edge, and we're going to put it around this. So I'm going to work on this a little bit longer, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so I've sort of got the makings of a tinder bundle as best I can here. I mean, we're going to do what we got. So I'll pull off a couple more. Maybe I can get some longer pieces of bark that I can kind of use to hold this all together. And I'm going to go from here. So take these. So we're going to start with the bigger pieces, and I'm just kind of wad this up and shred it and process it, and just to get the really big chunks out of it, but otherwise just kind of make it where it's as fibrous as possible, kind of like that. And then we'll just go ahead and take the big chunks out again. Okay, so now we can take our leaves, kind of put them around there on it, mix them up in there with it. Make a little bed of the medium stuff, I guess you call it, and then I'm going to take all the super fine fluff and kind of put it right in the middle, and go ahead and gather up the stuff around it, and then try to fold, if this thing will fold without breaking, maybe it will, kind of fold some of this bark around it so we got something to kind of hold it with. And that's going to be our tinder bundle. There's a really fine fluff stuff right there in the middle. So make a little indentation for the egg, and see if I can set this there without it coming apart on me. All right, so we have it. Now, I got to find my rope. Okay, so there is the charred rope, charred string. I'm just going to cut off a little piece of it, say maybe 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch. Put the rest of it back in the waterproof storage area, which has got O-rings in it, to seal it. And remove the fire piston. Make sure that the chamber is tightly sealed. And then just fill this in, poke this into the end. That's where it's in there pretty good. So now you see the rope is inside there. Now, the picture on the box, as you can see, shows you hitting this with your hand. Well, we're going to try that, but I'll be honest with you, I've not been able to do much with my hand so far. Maybe I'm just not tough enough, but we're going to give it a shot. But oh, looky there, first time. Wow. I mean, you saw that didn't even bottom out. You see we have an ember here, right? So we're going to take that and go ahead and move it out into our tinder bundle, bird's nest, whatever you want to call it, and see if we can get this thing to go to a fire. Okay. About to lose my ember here. My bird's nest is like there's a lot to be desired. Voila, we have ignition. Okay, so if you can, you should be able to get a fire started with that. It's a good flame. It's burning really well. It's burning my hand. It's got plenty of fire, plenty of heat. Put it on the grill over here. Just to show you, there's no tricks. Okay, so there it is burning in the grill. And you can see it's burning just fine. That's plenty of flame to get a fire going. Okay, well as you can see, we got a really good flame going with the fire piston from Bushcraft Essentials with the very first whack on the piston, and with far less than an optimal bird's nest. That was nothing but tulip poplar bark. And you know, processed, I probably have 20 minutes of process time in it, which is why it's so important to take the time up front. You know, I'm a scoutmaster and I teach Boy Scouts a lot of stuff about fires, and one thing I've noticed is that when people are starting to learn to build fires, they really want to pass by the prep and they just want to get that flame going. I promise you, the most important part of any fire, but especially a primitive fire made or any kind of fire from an ember, is going to be your preparation. If you spend the time preparing up front, you're going to have a lot better chance of success. But I want to go ahead and show you also, this thing does come with a little ferro rod. Now, there's no handle here. There's no way to make a handle, but I mean, you could take this out and put some tape or something on it, some duct tape. I'm just going to see how well it actually works. So let me readjust you down here. Okay, so here's the little fire steel that came with it. Now, certainly it's not a gigantic optimal fire steel, but it is a fire steel. And it will, once you get the coating off of it, it will strike some pretty good sparks. So you can see that doing pretty good. So all in all, it's a pretty good little fire steel. Fits right in the handle there. Everything comes together as a nice, neat little package. And you know, there's a lot of room here, again, for plenty of tinder in this little end. It's probably the size of a, gosh, I don't know, the size of a mini marshmallow. How's that for a size comparison? Once again, that is from Bushcraft Essentials, which they got a pretty cool little logo, I think, too. If you can see that. Anyway, this is made in Germany. Actually, I didn't tell you that. Made in Germany, and it's really, I just think it's a really great little product. Okay, well that was the Bushcraft Essentials Fire Piston. I'd like to thank the folks at Bushcraft Essentials for sending me this so I could show it to you. I'm really honestly impressed with it. I can't believe that it struck on the first time. That's the first time I'd ever been able to do it with my hand. I did it on camera, so that's pretty cool. And all the other times I've had to bang it on a piece of cardboard or something so I wouldn't scratch it up. So, worked like a champ with, I won't call it marginal, but it was definitely less than optimal tinder bundle, made strictly out of tulip poplar bark. It's got the little enclosed emergency or I guess backup fire steel, I guess you'd call it. And if you're looking for just another cool way to make fire that's going to come in really handy and will not fail you, this thing will last. It's engineered to last probably forever. Just check out the Bushcraft Essentials Fire Piston. I think it's a really cool deal. I'll put a link below to Amazon, and it's available on Amazon in the US, probably in Europe too. I'll try to start putting some international links, I guess I call them foreign. They're probably not foreign to you if you live in those countries. Some international links below so that maybe that'll help you guys out. We'll see if I can figure that out. But either way, if you're looking for a really cool kind of different way of making fire, you might want to check this out. I hope this has been helpful. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for subscribing. If you're not subscribed and you like this video, consider doing so because you'll be notified whenever every new video comes out. And I have at least one a week, sometimes more. Also, please give the thumbs up below. Let Google know you like outdoor videos. And share with your friends. It really helps me out. And if you'd like to support this channel, please check out the Amazon links in my Amazon store below. I'd really appreciate it. Once again, my name is Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. See you next time.